Okay, so I got a repeat customer here. It's he's brought me his lawnmower a couple times, and he has a couple chainsaws that he wants me to look at, see if they're worth. We got a John Deere and we got a Husqvarna, and if they're worth fixing up, he wants me to fix them, and so he can sell them. Now, John Deere is an interesting thing. I haven't never seen one. They bought out, and I think, from what I understand from reading, they bought out Home Light back in the 90s. And then in the early 2000s, they sold. So it's very rare, I think. And when I looked it up on Facebook Marketplace, there was two being sold, and both of them were going for $400 a piece. That's what they were pricing them at. I don't know if they're going to get it, but that's what they were pricing it at. So this one may be worth fixing up. Now, the Husqvarna, excuse me, he says it's hard to pull, and I agree, it is tough. There's something, it's like the rope isn't long enough. You get one tug. So we might have to just fix the rope on that and see what's wrong with it. But, you know, it's gonna be tough to do on that one, because you got to fix the rope before you can test to see if it's worth running. You know, does it start? So as with any diagnosis, you always start out with testing to see if it'll start. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little starting fluid in it. No gasoline, just starting fluid. And if it starts, then we can go from there. If it doesn't, then we go from there. So we'll put a little starting fluid. It's interesting because the carburetor on the newer ones are always on the top. This one's on the side. So there's a lot of buttons on this. Ow! That hit me right in the ankle. This thing is a heavy duty. Let me get my microphone off. Alright, I don't see it running. So next step is we got to take the spark plug out and test it. See if it sparks. Problem is I don't see any place really good to ground it, other than maybe the carburetor, which doesn't sound like a great idea. Okay, yeah, it looks a little dirty. So what we do to test this spark plug is we put it back into the spark plug wire, and then we're going to ground it. I hate doing this on chainsaws because I don't have enough hands. So I guess we're just going to ground it over here, see if it'll ground. I don't know. It does spark. So that's good news. I don't know if you can see that on camera. So while we have the spark plug out, I am going to run a compression test on it. I'm sure it's got enough compression, but it's a good habit to get into. I just got this compression tester. I used to have one way back in the olden days, but so a compression tester is a gauge, and then you plug into your spark plug holder, or hole, excuse me. And then you pull it to see how much compression it's got. So what we need to do is find the right adapter. I guess we can see if the hose has got the right adapter. It might, yep. So you screw the hose into the hole. And then you're going to plug your gauge into the hose. And then you're going to pull it 5 or 6 times, and the gauge will go up, and it will hold pressure for each pull. It'll go up a little higher if there's compression. So this is going to be even harder. So there's lots of compression on this one. A good compression rating is about, I think, 120 to, I don't know, maybe 175. So we're at 150 now. And you can get down to as low as about 70 and it'll still run, but it won't have much life left. So we have compression, we have spark. So it really does bring us back to the carburetor. Luckily, I don't like to admit defeat, but I think I've been defeated on this one. It's got spark, it's got compression. So that indicates that it's probably a carburetor issue. That being said, you should be able to start it just for a second or two with starting fluid or putting a little bit of gasoline down into the throat of the carburetor, getting it down into the cylinder. I've done both, and it won't start. So I went in and I watched a YouTube video of a guy who found one that was sitting around for 20 years, and he did the same exact thing I did, everything. Check the spark plug, check compression. He didn't have a tester, he did it by hand. So, you know, he's got a calibrated arm, I don't. And he went straight to the carburetor, and he put a little gas down into the throat of the carburetor, hit the throttle a couple times, get it down into the piston, and it fired right up. So this one has a mystery to it. So what I'll tell the customer is, anything I do would be exploratory. If this was my machine, I would go ahead and invest the 20 bucks to put a carburetor on it and see if it worked. To me, if it was my machine, that would be worth it. And if it didn't work, well then, it didn't work. You wasted 20 bucks, no big deal. But for me to sit around and just chip away at this, trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and charge him, and then find out nothing's gonna work for whatever reason, then I don't think it's worth doing it. So now I'm going to move on to the Husqvarna. We're going to go through the same procedure. Now, the problem with the Husqvarna is the rope pull is too small. So I'm going to have a real problem trying to figure out what's wrong with it since I can't pull it. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to maybe turn it with a impact wrench or something, or a drill. All right, same deal. We're going to put starting fluid in it. First thing we got is a choke handle missing. It's not a big deal. It looks like they got a wire in it. I mean, it doesn't stay in place though. And we'll see if we can get anything to fire on this thing. So the next step, remove the spark plug. And check for spark and compression. No spark. So did I have it turned on? I don't know, it's wore away. It says stop, so I don't think I had it. I think I had it on the first time. Nothing. So that means the ignition coil is probably bad. So the ignition coil sits right here. It's where the spark plug wire attaches to. Now another thing I'm going to try is maybe that switch wire is not working, so I'm going to disconnect the switch wire and we'll try it again, see if we get any spark. No spark. Well, now while we're here, we'll go ahead and check for compression. Okay, so the compression on this one is quite a bit lower. We are at 110 psi. So it's getting lower on life also. So I decided I'd try something real quick since I had this other spark plug from this John Deere. I just swapped out spark plugs to see if I could get a spark. So, and it did spark. I don't know if you can see it, but it is sparking. Not very good though. So that does tell me that we still need a ignition coil. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to gap this spark plug. Okay, so I'm going to stick a 30 thousandths in there, and that is not gapped enough. 30 thousandths will not go in. So you take a little pocket knife and you kind of just bend it up a little. Not enough. Then you take 35, and 35 should not go in. 35 thousandths should not go in. 30 thousandths should go in. Very sporadic. I would still probably go ahead and replace the ignition coil. Well, that's kind of good news. So I contacted the customer. I haven't heard back from him yet. And I told him the John Deere probably isn't worth me doing exploratory surgery, trying to figure out what's wrong with that one. The Husqvarna, there's going to be $40 in parts plus my labor. It may not be worth it for him to fix it because I looked it up on Facebook Marketplace and they're going for about $100 to $200. If you can find something like this for free and fix it up yourself, it would be worth it, because I could fix it up for 40 bucks, sell it for $100, and now you're coming out ahead. But when you're paying a guy to do labor cost, and what if it went for less? Because he's taking them to auction. He's not. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on something, so if I can inspire you. Take it one step at a time so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.